Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the JayBee Milly channel. I am JayBee and I've just finished watching episode 6 of HBO Max's new Velma show, and there's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot that I kind of want to say and break down, but I guess first and foremost, we're going to stay relatively spoiler free in this, in that we're not going to go into major plot points in great detail, nor are we going to really show any screenshots apart from the one that's on the screen now when going through our points, just so you can watch this just to get a gauge on if you feel like the episode is for you, if you're going to enjoy it, or if you just don't want to go through the process of hate watching and you want to, I guess, hear a breakdown of what happened. I don't know, just stuff like that. So please do bear that in mind. But on the off chance that you do want to go into the episode spoiler free, I would recommend clicking away from this video and then coming back after you've watched it and maybe let us know what you thought about the episode in the comment section down below. Without further ado, we'll get right into it. So I guess a bit like the last episode, I kind of did feel like that I was going away from this episode feeling kind of nothing, and I think that's a problem. Now, of course, the first couple of episodes, they evoked many things, be it, you know, great happiness, great anger, great sadness. It was kind of an extreme, you know, and it was very much that aspect of I have to see what's gonna happen, because I don't know what bizarre thing the show's gonna throw at me next. But I don't know if the show's getting, like, you know, I never thought it was a brilliant show, is what I'm saying, but I'm wondering if it's verging through that path of you can't miss it because it's so bizarre, and actually getting better, but by consequence getting better to the point where now it's just mediocre and boring. I'm not really sure. I am very much let down by the last two episodes, I can't lie. Like, I enjoyed the others for what they were, but with these, I often found myself getting quite bored, and that's no different with this episode. Now, similar to the last episode, we're kind of following two storylines a bit. We've got the Velma storyline and the Daphne storyline, and in the last episode, I was way more captivated by Daphne's story, but here it's like, in order to make Velma's story seem more interesting, they've kind of almost watered down Daphne's story a bit, or they kind of felt like they had to go somewhere with it, but they just had to wrap it up quickly because either one, they were scared that it was going to upstage Velma's, or two, simply that they wanted to prioritise Velma's character, and so Daphne's story was just, I guess it's going to fill time. Very disappointing, but let's get into the Velma side of things, because it is called Velma after all, and whether I like that or not, it is what it is, and I don't hate what we've got with Velma in this episode. I think she definitely does more proactive mystery solving versus stuff just coming at her, like, you know, wildly. I think she does go out of her way to seek mysteries, but the problem is that it's more of a case of let's find solutions to cure Velma versus let's have Velma show that she's the smart one and go and find clues about what happened to her mum. It's very kind of wishy-washy. And we also see a little bit of the immaturity of the show now. Like, we've gone on record saying that for all this is the adult, mature Velma show, it's actually significantly more juvenile when compared to something like Mystery Incorporated. And with Velma's storyline, it kind of goes too crass. I mean, I will say, Fred kind of half saves a scene that would run the risk of just being too, you know, just like too shock factor for the sake of it. Although, like I've said before, I think what I'm expecting to be shocked, and thus it's no longer shocking, and I think that's to the show's detriment in a way. But more than that, I think Fred does save a certain scene. If you've watched the episode, you kind of will probably know what I'm talking about, but his humour and I guess naivety does elevate that scene a little bit, in my eyes at least. But the immaturity is just how goofy things are coming across. So Daphne's storyline has the potential to be quite hard-hitting, or I don't know, quite a sad story. Think about how, you know, we know that Daphne's on a quest for her biological parents, but imagine, like, and there's direct comparisons you can make, how Fred reacted when he met his biological parents, and how he dealt with certain things that they did or that came to light about them. that was given some real emotional weight, and with this, I guess they try to do that, but ultimately every time we get to something serious, they kind of kill it with a joke or some snarky banter that they think is gonna like make the audience erupt into laughter, which fair enough if it does, but when you're making a more mature Scooby show, I kind of want to see that emotion elevated versus now we can, show this, now we can say that. I think that's kind of more what I was looking for, but, that's not the direction the show went. The episode is also very quick to go for the most obvious thing. Like, I guess you can blame me for persevering with so many episodes, and you could argue if you're watching that deeply into the series, you must be an idiot. And I suppose fair enough, but like, I don't think it's fair for the show to assume that the audience are idiots. So there's a moment with a certain character that we meet in this episode pretty much. And when it needs to illustrate that they're a shady person or they're not someone to trust, the person turns around to the screen, like to the camera effectively, and does some like weird dodgy voice saying, wait until they find out about this. And it's like, let's have some nuance with these characters. It's such a cartoonish, like, excuse the irony, way of illustrating that someone is villainous or they don't have the best intentions at heart. You've got the scope to write for adults, so why are we getting something more kooky than like a Robbie Rotten disguise from Lazy Town with this show? It's a bit laughable. It really is a bit laughable. But maybe that's what they were going for, I think more and more this show is just proving itself to not be for me. And what's worse is that I almost feel like maybe the people that were initially hate watching or initially giving the show a chance but consistently being let down by it, maybe this is where that crowd will come on board and they'll support the series a bit more. And it's not like I was going into this expecting blood, gore, and basically what we got from the first couple of episodes. That's not what I wanted, and people that follow the channel, like, there's so much content that we've made speculating on what we wanted from this series or what I would want for an adult Scooby show in general, and definitely it wasn't the first couple of episodes, but I got into the swing of enjoying that for what it is, and now it's just bland. What was new is old. What was shocking is now the status quo. It's such a shame. It really is, and I hate to say this, because the one thing that was hooking me to this was the mystery of Daphne. And again, no spoilers, but that is very much rushed. Almost like they had to rush it out of the way because it had filled the time it needed to fill to make the episode number justifiable, if that makes sense. It's confusing. It's confusing. Now, a lot of people were criticising the way that the show dealt with Velma's panic attacks in past episodes, and I defended it then in that I don't think that you can make a one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to how to or not to deal with panic attacks. Like, I think they're a very nuanced thing that people deal with in certain ways. But with this, I don't think they disrespected the nature of it because they kept it pretty consistent within the first couple of episodes. But the reason why they started and the reason why maybe certain things help it or not, I just think that did a lot of disservice to people that are going through stuff like that, or even a disservice to this story in general. Like, I think Velma calls out, oh, I hope this gets solved later down the line, because that would just be like lazy writing or something. And it's like I mentioned in episode 1 when they were like, you notice how in the pilot episode there's always more like needless nudity and stuff? And it's like, yeah, just because you're pointing it out doesn't mean that you're not doing it and that it's like a get out of jail free card. So acknowledging lazy writing, fine, that's great, but it doesn't make you exempt of lazy writing. So I really don't get that as a get out of jail free card, and I think it would be such a shame if it isn't expanded upon in later episodes. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of boring myself talking about this episode. I am still very much looking forward to next week. I think that's the last batch of episodes that we're scheduled to get for this. I don't know. I've heard rumblings that this is part one of the season, and that the what people were saying is season two is actually just what was commissioned prior. So it was all going to be one big season, but they split it in half. A bit like how Stranger Things did it in two parts. The new season of You is going to be doing it in two parts. Something like that. But yeah, if you want to hear more, then please like, comment, and subscribe to JayBee Milly.